You know, what you really need to do is. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Life Starring Deb, and we are going to talk about it today. We are going to talk about advice, giving advice because someone asked, or giving unsolicited advice because we just have an opinion about it. So let's dive right in here today and let's talk about this hot topic, giving advice, today on Life Starring Debs. So you may be the person that people come to talk about their situations, right? And for the most part, you give your opinion. Now listen, there is unsolicited advice, meaning that people don't ask you your opinion. And then there's the advice where people ask you what you would do. Now listen, sometimes we will give advice based on our experiences, especially if someone is talking about something that we've been through, then it's easy for us to talk about what you did in that situation. And sometimes we give advice based on what we hear and based on what we feel about the other party or the person. If it's a relationship issue, we may give advice that isn't sound advice. It just might be the advice that you're giving that person because you may not happen to like that person. What we really need to do, and this is advice, what we really need to do is learn to listen. See, we don't always have to have an opinion. Sometimes people don't really want to hear from us. They just want us to hear them. And so we have to practice listening without talking about what it is that you need to do, or if I were you, I would do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes we just have to learn how to listen and don't say anything and let the person talk. Because see, what happens a lot of times is we'll start to give advice and then we'll go on and on and on. And then pretty soon the person that was speaking, the person that was talking about their situation is now quiet. And you've gone on and on and on and on and on. And they never really had an opportunity to talk about it or to talk it out or try to figure it out themselves. See, sometimes all it takes is for people or us to just start talking out loud about the situation. And a lot of times what will happen is we'll get the answer and the other person won't have to say anything. Now, it's not that you're not being a good friend or, a good advice giver if you don't interject and say what it is. Sometimes the best advice, the best thing that we can do for somebody is to just be quiet. Just don't say nothing. Open our ears and listen. You can communicate by going, really? Wow. Oh my goodness. Without saying, woo girl, if it was, no. Sometimes we just need to be quiet and we just need to listen. That's it. Because what will happen when we give advice all the time, when we take on other people's situations and other people's circumstances and other people's relationship issues, we take that on and it can be draining. It can be draining to us. It can mess with our own mental state if we take in too much of that. So it's better just to chill and not really say anything at all. And if you feel like you need to say something, then the best thing that you can say after the person has said whatever it is that they need to say to get it off their chest or whatever, you can then say, do you want my opinion? Ask them, do you want my opinion? And then you can go on to say whatever it is. Now, the thing about it, especially if we're talking about people that are having relationship issues, you have to make sure that you are the right person to talk about, because you may be dealing with that situation or have dealt with that situation and you did everything wrong. And so you don't want to give advice to somebody that didn't work for you. And you don't want to give someone advice on a relationship if the person that they're having an issue with is somebody that you don't necessarily care for. Because then your advice is not going to be sound. It's not going to be based on their situation, but rather the situation that you may have had with the person that didn't turn out so well. And then you may give that advice to that person, and now they're dealing with what you dealt with on a whole nother level based on an experience you had that had nothing to do with them. See, a lot of times, let people work it out for themselves, especially if people come to you and they just want to talk. Let them try to work it out themselves without you saying what they need to do or what they should have done, or if it were me in that situation and all that. Let them try and work it out for themselves. Now, you may think that if you are not available to a close friend or family member when they're in need, that you're not being a good friend. And in actuality, you are. Because what we're learning to do is set healthy boundaries for us, reminding ourselves that we don't have all the answers. So it's just best to allow the person to ask themselves the questions that they may ask you, and let them try to work through it, with us being a good listener. We can have empathy. We can feel what the person feels. We can even get angry with the person. We can get frustrated with their situation, but we can't take it all in, because we have our own lives. We have the things that's going on with our life. So we can't put the things that we have on the back burner to take on someone else's situation. All that's going to do is add more stress and worry on us, and it's not our situation. So we just have to learn to love people through their situation, to be there for them when they need to talk about their situation. But let's limit the amount of advice that we give. It is always best to help them to work it out for themselves. And if we truly can't help, then maybe you can refer them to someone that can. Then you are being a real friend. You're being an honest friend. When you say, hey, I love you, girl, or I love you, dude, I can't help you with this one, but I'll be there for you. I'll help you walk through it, but I can't help you with this. That is the best advice that you can give. That is the way to save relationships and friendships. That is the way to mind our own business. And it is a way for us to wait and have them say, I really just want your opinion on this. And then give that and let it go. That's today's episode. I hope you got something out of it. I certainly did. Until we meet again, I'll see you next time on Life Starring Deb. Take care.